Hello, everybody. This is Demographia. Um, I hope you guys all had a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year's. Welcome to the very first video for 2018. And what way to better celebrate having reached 1,000 views, 100 subscribers, and a new year by making a special. So, this special, as you can tell from the title, will be about the differences between race, subrace, and ethnicity. So, let's start with race. A race is a group of humans based on shared physical or social qualities into categories generally viewed as distinct by society. First used to refer to speakers of a common language and then to denote national affiliations. By the 17th century, the term race began to refer to physical or phenotypical traits. Most modern scholarship regards race as a social construct, that is, a symbolic identity created to establish some cultural meaning. While partially based on physical similarities within groups, most people think that race is not an inherent physical or biological quality. However, I disagree with this conclusion. I'll explain why later. Societal conceptions and groupings of race vary over time, involving groups that define essential types of individuals based on perceived traits. Most scientists consider race obsolete and generally discourage racial explanations for collective differences in both physical and behavioral traits. Even though there is a broad scientific agreement that race doesn't exist, scientists around the world continue to conceptualize race in widely different ways, some of which imply that it does exist. Some researchers use the concept of race to make distinctions among sets of traits or observable differences in behavior. Others in the scientific community suggest that the idea of race often is used in a naive or simplistic way and argue that among humans, race has no meaning by pointing out that all humans belong to the same species. Since the second half of the 20th century, the association of race with the ideologies and theories of scientific racism has led to the use of the word race itself becoming problematic. Though still used in general context, race has often been replaced by other terms such as populations, peoples, ethnic groups, or communities, depending on the context. Modern scholarship views race as socially constructed. That is, race is not something you're born with, but rather an identity created, often by socially dominant groups, to establish meaning in a social context. This often involves the subjugation of groups defined as racially inferior. This view rejects the notion that race is biologically defined. Although commonalities in physical traits such as facial features, skin color, and hair texture comprise part of the race concept, the latter, according to them, is a social distinction rather than a biological one. Other dimensions of race include shared history, traditions, and language. Furthermore, people often self-identify as members of a race for political reasons. According to them, when people define and talk about a particular conception of race, they create a social reality through which people are categorized. In this sense, races are said to be social constructs. These constructs develop within many contexts and may be the effect rather than the cause of major social situations. While race is understood to be a social construct by many, most scholars agree that race has real effects in the lives of people through practices of preference and discrimination. Social-economic factors, in combination with early but enduring views of race, have led to considerable suffering within disadvantaged racial groups. Racial discrimination often coincides with racist mindsets, whereby the individuals and ideologies of one group come to perceive the members of an outgroup as both racially defined and morally inferior. As a result, races possessing relatively little power often find themselves excluded or oppressed, while hegemonic individuals and institutions are charged with holding racist attitudes. Racism has led to many instances of tragedy, including slavery and genocide. In some countries, law enforcement uses race to profile suspects. This use of racial categories is frequently criticized for perpetuating an outmoded understanding of human biological variation and promoting stereotypes. Because in some societies, race corresponds closely with patterns of social stratification. For social scientists studying social inequality, race can be a significant variable. As sociological factors, race may in part reflect subjective attributions, self-identities, and social institutions. In the social sciences, theoretical frameworks such as racial formation theory and critical race theory investigate implications of race as social construction by exploring how the images, ideas, and assumptions of race are expressed in everyday life. A large body of scholarship has traced the relationship between the historical social production of race in legal and criminal language, and their effects on the policing and disproportionate incarceration of certain groups. Now, I'll tell you why I disagree with this. Anyone with eyes can clearly see that European people and African people are not the same race. As said before, race is defined by skin color, but also by physical traits, especially on the face. Beginning of each of my videos about a certain race, I talk about these physical traits which are slightly different for each race. Although people often disagree over exactly how many races there are, in general people tend to see that there are clearly distinct ones. In conclusion, a race is a group of humans with common physical and genetic characteristics such as skin color and facial structure. Now, what is a subrace, you might ask? Well, a subrace is a group of ethnicities within a race that also share similar genetic and physical features, but these features are less distinct and aren't enough to make them their own race. But they do make them distinct from other subraces within a race. They still share common characteristics with other subraces. However, all subraces share the same skin color as well as broader features. And finally, we have ethnicity or ethnic groups. An ethnic group or an ethnicity is a category of people who identify with each other based on similarities such as common ancestry, language, history, society, culture, or nation. Ethnicity is usually an inherited status based on the society in which one lives. Memberships of an ethnic group tend to be defined by shared cultural heritage, ancestry, origin, myth, history, homeland, language, or dialect, symbolic systems such as religion, mythology, and ritual, cuisine, dressing style, art, or physical appearance. Ethnic groups derived from the same historical founder population often continue to speak related languages and share a similar gene pool. By way of language shift, acculturation, adoption, and religious conversion, it is sometimes possible for individuals or groups to leave one ethnic group and become part of another. Ethnicity is often used synonymously with terms such as nation or people. Larger ethnic groups may be subdivided into smaller subgroups known variously as tribes or clans, which over time may become separate ethnic groups themselves due to endogamy or physical isolation from the parent group. Conversely, formerly separate ethnicities can merge to form a pan-ethnicity and may even merge into one ethnicity. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed this. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. If you want to know more about race, then you should watch my video called What is Race and Is It Real? That's my 25 subscriber special. Thank you guys so much for helping me reach 100 subscribers already. This is really a big milestone. It hasn't even been a year, it's only been half a year since I created this channel. Thank you for 1,000 views, and once again, Happy New Year's, and I'll be looking forward to more videos this year. Bye.